Look, if you had mom spaghetti, you capture it, just let it slip. Yo, his arm spaghetti, knees weak, arm spaghetti, his vomit on his sweater spaghetti, mom spaghetti, he's nervous, but on the surface he looks calm spaghetti, to drop bombs, but he keeps on spaghetti, what he wrote down, the whole crowd goes spaghetti, he opens his mouth, but spaghetti won't come out, he's choking how, everybody's choking now, spaghetti's run out, time's up, over, loud, snap back to spaghetti, oh, there goes spaghetti, oh, there goes spaghetti, loud, he's so mad but he won't give up spaghetti, no, he won't have it, he knows he keeps on spaghetti, his mom's spaghetti's broke, he knows that, but he's broke, he's so stagnant, he knows when he goes back to his mom's spaghetti, that's when it's back to the lab again, yo, this whole spaghetti, better go grab some spaghetti, and hope it don't be your mom's spaghetti, it's ready, you better never let it go, you only get one spaghetti, not miss your chance to blow, 'cause your mom's spaghetti, it's ready, you better never let it go, you only get one spaghetti.
GM, welcome to 9 o'clock live at the Noun Square. Poor Karen, she's probably like, what have I got myself into here?
I am.
Spaghetti. We are
If
singing
it
about
helps,
spaghetti.
I'm thinking the same thing every morning.
We are listening to a song about spaghetti because we're looking at Noun 628 from NounsDAO up for auction currently with 3 minutes and 47 seconds left on the auction. And it's a spaghetti head noun. That's why. Nomo.wtf. Please go and come along with us for a little nounish ride. At Nomo.wtf, you can watch the nouns auction. You can watch the end of it with us. That's what we do here and have done every single day now for quite some time. 3 minutes and 24 seconds left on this auction. Top bidder currently Nate Rivers. Bit of an influencer. Looks
Yeah,
like he's looking
definitely.
to get his...
Doesn't currently have a noun in that wallet.
He doesn't have a
Looking to
noun
get
at all.
involved.
I wanted to.
He doesn't have a noun at
I
all.
want to shout out to Cherry, who
He has
I
tried
see.
in the...
I see Cherry, who is in the audience right there. I wanted to shout out to you, Cherry. If you can jump on stage, man, we'd love to have a chat with you a little bit. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Tony. There.
I sent her an invite. Yeah, Karen, welcome, and thank you for joining us. We do this show every single day at the end of the NounsDAO auction. We love to have guests, creative guests from the NFT ecosystem as well, to learn about what they're doing, and really appreciate you joining us for the show.
She says she can't. Yeah, she can't hear. You'll have
Karen,
to jump off
there?
and come back in if you can't hear us.
Okay, might be having some technical difficulties. You seem to be muted there, Karen. If you're not able to unmute, you might have to go out and come back in and try again. In the meantime, what we like to do here is watch the end of this auction, as I mentioned. When the auction is over, we're going to sort of take a quick break from the guests. We're going to play a little game together. A couple little games that may allow us to choose the next noun of the day. Typically, that's the way it's supposed to work at nomo.wtf. Unfortunately, someone's been running a bot on us lately that hasn't allowed us to choose the noun, which is super lame. But either way, we'll get to see the noun of the day and see what happens. But Sherry, welcome, Sherry. How are you? Okay, now I'm starting to wonder if I'm just rugged. Robot Fish Girl, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
It's not. I can hear you fine. Okay. I think it's Twitter just doesn't like new people.
Hi, can you hear me? Selectively.
Yes, sorry.
We can hear you.
Hey, there we go.
Hey, I can hear people now.
Amazing.
Welcome.
Well, Twitter's just working out the kinks on this new Spaces product, so I appreciate.
Yeah, it's only been around for a couple years now.
Appreciate your patience.
Classic.
So,
all good.
All right. So to set the record straight, we've got a minute left on this auction. Everyone here should be at nomo.wtf. If you haven't retweeted the room yet, please do so. It helps to get people in here so we can play this game together and then have a great chat with Karen. And 50 seconds left on that auction. Doesn't look like we're going to get another bid. So it looks like this spaghetti monster
Nate's picking up a noun.
Looks like Nate is going to be a noun. He has tried in the past. I remember he bid for 4 or 5 days straight and wasn't able to grab one. And he's coming for the kill today. Doesn't look like he's going to get another bid against him. So if you're on nomo.wtf in about 28 seconds, you will see the screen change a little bit, and you'll see some nouns pop up on the screen that we can hopefully vote up or vote down if we don't get botted. What has been happening, to be quite frank, is the first noun that comes up, the bot just kills our dreams, and we just take whatever noun we're given. But the good news is we have a secondary sort of 30-second game to play after that on the same page called Nomo Nouns, coming up in 3, 2, 1, and go. We got a
and
chef hat,
Doom Chef. I actually like this one. I voted down because of the bot, despite it, but I do like this one.
You know what? I think we could have counteracted that one because there was only 8 votes for, but nonetheless, there we go. That's what happens.
I don't know if it's registering our no votes because I voted down, but I didn't see anything but mine.
Anywho, there it is. We got a chef.
It's a nice
That's
one.
what happens these days. But the good news is, if you're at nomo.wtf, your screen will have changed. You'll now see 3 rows of nouns that could have been. You have the opportunity to save them now from the land of nouns that were no-mo and save them and make them no-mo nouns. So all you got to do is choose your favorite one and click as many times as you can possibly click until your finger hurts. That's how you save a noun. There's some good ones here. We got a greasy dog. Nobody likes a greasy dog.
I do like that piano,
that's the one.
but I got to tell you,
the piano's pretty good too. The piano's pretty good. We got
Los Angeles, so I think the igloo. The igloo is appropriate.
An igloo.
Are you saying
right, here we go.
I'm going for the igloo.
I like the nearly beheaded dog. I gotta go with the greasy dog.
I love you, my dear Osha friend, but
you can do your greasy accessory. Take it away. That piano's pretty cool.
I'm definitely after the beatnik film.
I saved Cheese DAO at the last second.
Guys, get the film canister. The film canister for Dick Karen.
All right, let's go with the film canister. Let's go with the film canister for our guest.
We aim to please.
You know, a part of Nomo is clicking on your favorite noun, but another part of Nomo, for those on stage, is there's actually a layer 2 of social engineering.
The film looks like really artistic as well, with like an all black top. Some sort of French
yeah,
artiste.
it's a nice Nomo. I like this one.
That igloo. Oh,
those 2 middle pictures are like that Canadian meme for us here in Canada. It's the same picture.
A house.
Snow in LA.
A house in the home.
Let's go. We got a film canister and a greasy dog. Make your choice. Let's go. Final round.
Yeah.
It's a close one. No one wants to let up on the greasy dog. Even for our guest, who's a photographer. You monsters.
Come on. Film camera. The dog is beautiful, but yeah, there we go.
We have minted.
Today's in a row, I'm using my normal.
We have minted a very, very clean film canister for our guest today, who is a photographer. It's very fitting. I love it. Karen, what do you think?
Amazing. That was such a journey that you all had to go through so early in the morning.
That's one way of putting it. Yes.
That's a very apt way of putting it, and I might take that.
Yeah, usually people say something more like, "Oh, I need therapy," or there's lots of different responses to the first.
I'm gonna fire my agent.
Yeah. What's wrong with you? Why am I here?
Where am
okay?
These are all common responses to playing Nomo with us for the first time. How do
you have this much energy early in the morning?
Yep, that's another one. Nouns Coffee. That's how. Before we jump into a conversation here with Karen, just wanted to reiterate what Nomo is. We created Nomo here at the Noun Square for exactly this exact scenario where someone just has no friends, and too much time on their hands, and they've created a bot to bot the only game that we have to choose our next noun of the day. Why they've done that, we don't know. Why they live in the basement, I don't know. But they've done that, and we're not able to choose the next noun of the day anymore like we used to be able to. This was happening to us back in the fall, and we said, you know what? Screw this. We're making our own game. And so we made Nomo Nouns as something just to play, to take our minds off of getting botted on FOMO. The bot then promptly stopped once we made that game. and for 2 or 3 months, blissful months, we had no botting, and then all of a sudden they're back. So anyhow, that's the short story of how Nomo came to be. Great thing about Nomo is we can play it all the time because our dev actually put civil resistance into this game, so you can't bot it. I shouldn't challenge people, but it's a lot harder to bot. So we're able to play it every day.
Created the game, you can get banned by the game, according to Pen5.
Yeah, that's right.
So try to
Hey,
try to attack it. It will ban you, even if you're the one who created it.
That's right, Davin.
I want to tell the botter there that they are
You're ugly. You're disgusting. I'm going to kill
Oh my God.
Give me $200.
It's a very good message. Thank you, Dr. Phil. All right, so Nomo now number 629. You can mint it for 0.069 ETH. It's like a pull app for remembering that you were here with us. A great little memorabilia for your wallet. Plus, enters you into a draw every single day, the Lucky Nomo draw, which wins one of the awesome editions that we're hoarding in our Nomo wallet. So that's an extra opportunity for you to win here on the Noun Square every single day. Karen, a little bit of background because you might not be super familiar with our show, but we've been doing the show here for, I think, almost 260 days in a row at the end of the NounsDAO auction, which is a daily occurrence. And we come here, we watch the end of the nouns auction. Typically, when FOMO was working properly, we would pick the next noun of the day. We'd have on a guest either from a nounish project or from somewhere in the Nouniverse or the NFT ecosystem that's interesting. Chat with them and then get along with our day. So that's what we do here.
Sounds good. I'm ready. Ready to go on the adventure part 2.
Sounds good. Maybe we could start by, for anyone who's not familiar with your work, either listening in or listening back, maybe you could tell us a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, so I'm firstly a photographer. It's funny because I sometimes think of taking the photograph as like just the little last like cherry on top of the cake or whatever. But yeah, so I'm a photographer, but I do a lot of like set design and kind of like character building. Um, Admittedly, I'm probably going to get a lot of like eye rolls and sighs over this, but I just bought those big red boots because I was like, oh my God, I can make an entire costume around those.
The Astro Boy boots?
Yes, exactly.
They're so good.
Awesome.
Yeah, so
no, I saw Coyle Ray had a pair of those that she wore in a concert recently and was getting roasted for them too. But I thought they looked hilarious and great.
Yeah,
Uptoshi was really hyped about those.
Yeah, they're incredible.
Yeah, how do you get them off?
Carefully.
Video. It's crazy. How do you get them off?
Yeah, I haven't I was actually wondering that when I was looking at them, like how hard it is to get them on and off. But I'll worry about that at some other point. They take like a few weeks.
Burn that bridge when we come to it.
Exactly. That's how I live my life. Just not planning or thinking about it. Just letting it hit me in the face. But so yeah, I ordered those, and I'm making like.
And it might actually be that exact. It might actually be like that exactly. Like it might hit you in the face as you take them off.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I'm like, do I have to
trying to force it, give suddenly? Yeah, I could see it happening.
One of those like, do I have to lube them up or something for people to get their legs in? I don't know. But yeah, making like a whole costume around that. So I like doing like a lot of costuming and I travel a lot. Like I do a lot of researching, like hours a day, just going down like rabbit holes of different places I can travel to. So for me, like the pictures I take, the environment is kind of like just as important as the subject I'm taking pictures of. And yeah, besides that, I paint and sculpt, and yeah, that's pretty much it. It's, I guess, if I had to describe my photos, it's like kind of conceptual fantasy surrealism type. I like mixing I'm a huge like sci-fi nerd, so I like mixing kind of like elements of sci-fi and like different time periods. I grew up in the 80s, so I'm obsessed with like that whole aesthetic, like the neon kind of like tech, like old tech. I have at my studio, I have like 200 old TVs. It's an obsession. I can't stop. It's a it's a organized hoard, I would say, at my studio. But I have like any kind of like old telephones or TVs or yeah, just any kind of like old technology I'm obsessed with. So yeah, hopefully that's a good blanket statement about my work.
Very, yeah, it's really cool. Pin tweet there with some different photos, and they're really quite striking. And also, what I'll say too is that it's at first glance they don't look like photos, which I think is kind of what you're going for, and how you're saying they're kind of conceptual and fantasy inspired. At first, you kind of take pause and say, is that, is that a photo or is that an illustration? For me, anyway.
Yeah, I get that a lot. It's strange too because now, like, especially in this space, like, I think people assume that it's either 3D rendered or AI or
AI, yeah.
which is, I mean,
Yeah.
for me it's like it's very important. I actually don't use a lot of Photoshop either. Admittedly, I probably know like only 5% of what I should know about Photoshop, but um yeah, I think for me, it's like important for it to be because again, like I'm like heavily influenced by like movies, especially like movies I saw as a kid, and like the 80s were a time where the whole like CGI thing really wasn't happening yet. Like thinking about like like
Yeah.
Jim Henson sets and even like Tim Burton sets, all that kind of stuff. Where they were
Or when
either
it was happening, you wouldn't want to watch those movies today because it
right.
was very
Oh
rough.
yeah.
Yeah, this thinking back to the first Dune movie with the weird blocky shields.
Oh man, you know what I just watched again? I haven't seen it in years, is The Rocketeer. And like the scenes of
Oh!
so good, but the scenes of him flying, I was like, "Oh
Yeah.
no. No." Because yeah, I remember that being quite different and amazing, and now I'm like, "Ugh, that didn't age
The
well."
nostalgia goggles are thick on some of
Yeah, oh
these.
yeah, super thick.
So, if you don't know that much about Photoshop, then how much of these effects are just like in camera?
Most of them are like so the
Damn.
most photoshopping I'm typically doing is like I do a lot of like especially with the astronaut photos I do like if the astronaut is kind of like floating, most of the time the person's
Yeah.
either just like jumping and I can time it. When I started doing photos, I started with like concert photography for years. So I'm kind of used to like timing stuff. If like everyone's always like, "How do you catch them jumping?" I'm
Yeah.
like, it's not a very hard task, but yeah, like if they're floating, they're either jumping or they're like sitting on a stool, and what I do is I'll like shoot like a plate of like no one in it, like just a scene without the stool, without the person, and then I shoot the
Yeah.
person on the stool, and I just take that original photo without anyone in it, and I just
You just
kind of
paint it out. Yeah.
exactly, yeah. So that's about the extent of what I do in Photoshop, or sometimes I'll like clone stuff. Like I do a lot of stuff with butterflies and like taxidermy butterflies are super expensive. So like I'll get like maybe like three. I do have like a fake one that someone made and it's pretty cool, but sometimes, nothing beats the real thing. So I'll buy like three and then I'll like take like hundreds of pictures of those three. Like I'll put them on a wire and just like move it all around the frame, and then same thing, I kind of like clone it onto the same photo. But yeah, that's about the
Oh, that's
extent.
One
awesome.
pro tip for that is you can buy taxidermy caterpillars and then just wait. It's a lot cheaper.
God damn it, Tony.
Yeah, I can go out
It's just like,
harvesting. Yeah.
no, this is really cool. I just pinned as well a few of the photos from your ETH astronaut collection, or ETH X astronaut collection. What inspired you for this? You were just talking about the astronaut. You've got this astronaut in all these interesting places. What was your inspiration for this collection?
Yeah, so for some reason, I mean, obviously, like, I think most people are kind of fascinated with the whole, space travel thing. I always was, and again, like that whole sci-fi thing where I just loved, any kind of movie with people trying to get to the moon, they are on the moon, whatever. Um, but I remember, like, I got the idea because I was in an abandoned house one day, and a lot of the houses I go to are like crazy. Like it's almost like people just like got abducted. Like they're like all their stuff is still, and it's like you can tell the certain time period that they either left or whatever happened that they're not there anymore. So I'll go into some places and it's like all their mail is still there, their clothes, just everything. And you can kind of tell, like, by their mail that, like, oh, these people didn't live here from 1957 to the present. Um, so like when I go to these places, it's like, I mean, I'm going there firstly to take photos, but then secondly, I love just like looking through everything. I think it's like just fascinating to kind of see how it's like I'm in the space that these people lived and I'm just, trying to learn like who lived here and what were they like um so, like, I was kind of thinking, like, what if that happened on a grand scale where, like, for some reason everyone has to leave Earth? We either messed up the environment too much, we can't breathe the air, whatever. And I kind of had this idea of, like, we all have to evacuate Earth. Earth is left abandoned. And like 100 years from evacuating, someone decides, like, hey, I'm gonna kind of like how I go into these houses to kind of see, explore and stuff that someone comes down to Earth, like this one astronaut comes down and just kind of, travel the Earth and see how people used to live. And yeah, so it's kind of like I guess it's like a reflection on just, you know, I mean, I call it the lonely astronaut. So it's kind of like a lonely, nostalgic, like they're just checking out like amusement parks and old houses, just like anything. Like just imagine walking from like the East Coast to the West Coast of like the United States and you come across like mountains and a roller coaster or so there's a lot of like random like yesterday I actually got permission to photograph in this really old it was like a tavern, so it was a place that like, and it was like old, old, like it was like probably almost like 250. I think it was built in like the 1700s. Um, and just like the wallpaper and like the way it was built, it was just like incredible. So,
Karen, I want to ask you, can you get some nogos and tricks, try them out on this photo shoot that you have next? Jerzyk and
yeah,
nice.
so
What do you think?
I was thinking, yeah, like the red, like to match the red boots would be perfect because then it's like the person's body would be bookends by like giant red ridiculous things on their feet and on their head. But yeah, I was actually thinking
That
that.
would be hilarious. That would be cool. Well,
my God!
we can facilitate getting some noggles into your hands if that's the case. We've got a few people that are making physical ones, so no Photoshop required. Don't worry.
Yeah, I'm looking at some of these and it's fantastic. I'm getting major like Martian Chronicles vibes from some of these pictures. Like Million Year Picnic, There Will Come Soft Rains kind of stuff. With the astronaut.
Yes.
Yeah, when I looked at them as well, and this should be, the highest compliment you can get as a photographer with this kind of conceptual art is that the feeling it evoked was exactly what you just described. As I was like, oh, this is kind of feels like a movie where an astronaut comes back and maybe wasn't expecting everybody to be gone. So yeah, it definitely comes through.
Also, when did you get Doyer Street that empty?
So for some,
I used to. My apartment is in this picture. I used to live there.
oh really?
Really?
Oh man,
Oh
no
my.
way. It's so funny.
When did you get it to look like this?
Yeah, so
Robot Fish Girl is the astronaut, confirmed.
I think
We now know.
I think that wasn't when COVID was a thing. So I've been in so I feel like Doyer Street kind of shuts down around like 8-ish at night. Like I've only been going the past like few years, probably since like 2017, but I feel like since I've been going a lot more is like that, like the restaurants and everything.
It basically depends on when Apothic is open.
Yeah, because I've done a few before that, but that picture, I'm pretty sure that's when I was there like right before COVID. It was like February 2020, I think. And it was later at night, but it wasn't that was such a weird time because like had I known like COVID in like there was probably like 3 weeks from when I took that was gonna like spread so quickly, I would not be like in New York City on the subway like doing all that. But it was, and I think about that. I'm like, were people just more privy to it there or something? Because there was I didn't have to like Photoshop anyone out of that photo, and then I ended up going to like Times Square during COVID when it was definitely a thing.
It was abandoned.
Yes, it was crazy. I'm just like not when I go places, I'm not a touristy kind of person at all. Like I avoid Times Square like the plague.
Well, yeah.
But like
because it's awful. What?
Yeah. And like I'm not like a people. I'm like, oh, anxiety when there's like thousands of people.
Humans.
Exactly. But like I heard everyone like so that's when like Clubhouse was a thing, and everyone was like Times Square's like there's no one there, and I was like, no way, like everyone must be exaggerating. And I went, and it was the weirdest thing. It felt like I was on a movie set, like everything. It felt like all the buildings in Times Square were like a facade. Like the fact that there weren't people there, like not one person. It was so strange. I'll never forget that. That was probably like the most surreal moment in my life. And I actually had gone back to like Doyers, like that whole area. Was just like, there was no one to be found. It was crazy. But that particular picture, I think that was either January or February 2020. So I think that's when people were kind of starting to be like, maybe I shouldn't be going out amongst other people.
Makes sense.
Do you know what place looks like that right now? I saw this on like the news recently, and by the time something makes it to BBC, it must be quite a big problem. But someone was complaining that downtown San Francisco, where all these tech companies, I don't know, apparently had offices, it does feel like a movie set right now. If you want to explore that, that'd be kind of nice. It's like,
is that just because Twitter fired 90% of their staff? Is that where they all lived?
Probably.
Probably.
Unironically, probably.
Please don't rug us, Elon. It's just a joke.
Please. Joke, heavy air quotes.
Days, and you all should really dig into The Average Creatures. It's a collection of 7,777 hand-built, well ahead of generative projects in terms of like the Buenos where they're stacked. These collection is just unbelievable. I've been a holder and a fan and a friend for a long time, and I can't even imagine what she's going to bring to the Nounish culture when she's going.
Can we talk about that? What is Average Creatures and how did it come about?
Yeah.
For maybe some content,
Karen to share, but I would share that not only did she have the collection of the originals, but she also made all of the components available to holders. So you can get your background, you can have your bodies, your heads, and she then stripped away everything and turned it into a PFP collection, and has all the way along added claimables, including moving pictures, but like
the talkies,
etc. Yeah, the talkies. Well, I mean, that's kind of her vibe. She really does do everything almost automatic. What's the word? Why can't I think of it? But
Analog?
I'll let her speak to it. Analog. Thank you.
That's really cool. Yeah, I'm looking at some
acoustic photography.
Yeah, so that so you remember earlier, like 20 minutes ago, when I said sculptor and painter, that's where it kind of comes in. So
Right.
this is actually a good point to talk about it because kind of touched on the whole COVID thing. So once everything was like shut down for COVID, I was like, oh my God, I'm screwed because so I'm like a self-employed photographer, like that's all I do, and like also all I do is take pictures of people. Like I'm not a landscape photographer, I'm not a product photographer, so like I have a studio, and like when everything shut down I was like, oh my God, I can't like photograph people, like you know for the fact that I didn't want to get COVID, but also I couldn't be caught doing business or you get like fined, and I really didn't want that because also like
Nobody talks about the effects of COVID on photographers who only take pictures of people.
yeah, I mean it sucked, I gotta
A niche
say.
topic, but worth discussing
Yeah,
nonetheless.
it's a very specific. I should write a book about the effects of COVID on photographers in the 20th century, but yeah, so I
So that's a very good title.
So I panicked, like I know a lot of people did, despite what you were doing for a job or whatever. Also, like a lot of what I did, a lot of my income at that time, came, I would say like 90% of my income came from like vending at events. Like I'd go to, I know you all know about like Designer Con. I would do stuff similar to that where I would go with, 1,000 prints of, several different photos, and I'd sell them throughout the day at the event. And, I knew when I was going to make my money. I had my whole year planned out with like all the events I was going to do. And yeah, all of a sudden it's like, nope, everything's shut down. And I was like, I'm screwed. So I was like, how am I going to like keep working, like keep doing photos if I can't, photograph people? So I went on Amazon and I bought a bunch of mannequins, and because I have like a ton of wardrobe in my studio, like just hundreds of pieces of like vintage like marching band outfits and like kind of 1960s aesthetic type stuff. And so I could use the mannequins, like I could bring them with me, I could build sets and put them in the sets, but then I was like, this is kind of stupid because you can see like the heads, like just the blank heads, and it looks like I'm just shooting a weird window display in like a Target. Like, so then I was like, okay, I'm going to either make I wanted to make masks, and I tried a few different things and it didn't work out. And then I got this stuff, it's called like modeling foam, and it almost has a thicker consistency of when you make like slime. It's like just a white kind of like thicker slime type stuff, and I really liked working
I'm
with it.
having this weird like unlocked core memory of like this kind of Play-Doh type toy that we had in the 80s that was like foam, but it wasn't Play-Doh. And you know what I'm talking about? It was like
Yes.
this like
The
what the hell
the
was that
stuff that's made
stuff?
of like a bunch of little like bubbles or like balls
Oh my
Yeah.
that
God,
but like sticks together.
that too. That's
What the
still
hell was
sold.
that? Is
Yeah,
it?
Off topic, I
that's still a
love the
thing.
smell of Play-Doh. Like, I can't get enough of it. I don't know why. I'm one of those people that, like, I haven't eaten it, but I want to. Like, I remember kids would eat Play-Doh. Anyway.
It doesn't taste nice.
No, an
See?
NDA, non-dietary advice. Do not eat Play-Doh.
So
Yeah.
Continue.
But yeah, so that's when I started pretty much out of, like, necessity, was like sculpting masks and making them for the mannequins. And then when I did that, like people had no clue that I wasn't photographing people. Like I have like a whole body of work where everyone's like, oh, who's the model in that? I'm like, it's not, it's a mannequin. But that's what got me really like sculpting and like, because then I would like paint the masks. Like I did like a bunch of like kind of just random character faces. So that was like in 2020, and then 2021 came, and January 2021, like the pretty much the first of the year, I learned about Clubhouse, and like right when I learned about that, a friend texted me and he was like, "Hey, I don't know anything about this, but you might want to look into NFTs." And I was like, "Okay, I have no clue what you're talking about," but for some reason I was like, "This is probably something I should look into." Um, so on Clubhouse, like
For those who
everyone,
aren't familiar, Clubhouse is like a Twitter Spaces type product that was popular for about 3 months in 2021.
yeah,
before
oh yeah, it quickly like
Thank you
before
for
Twitter Spaces.
explaining
yeah,
that,
it
because
quickly went away. It was great though. Like those, I call those 3 months the golden years of Clubhouse. I don't even know what's going on Clubhouse anymore, but it was like,
it's gone.
yeah, pretty much.
Is it gone completely?
Is it?
Basically, I mean, I don't think anybody's on it.
Yeah, I mean,
Someone might.
Just the
Basically,
Bitcoin.
Like, yeah,
basically,
MySpace still technically
Jack
exists,
Dorsey,
but
yeah, Jack Dorsey didn't like A12Z, so he's just like, Clubhouse. Okay, we'll do Spaces, and that'll be done. And that was pretty much what happened.
Well, no, you know that meme where it's like, I made this, and then the little character turns around and said, I made this. It was kind of that situation.
yeah.
Proving that network effects are the most important effects, when you can just unfortunately take a great idea and say, okay, same, but all the people are here. And then you
They
don't
turned
even
down
need
his
to.
offer.
What's that?
I said
Is
they
that what
turned down
happens?
his offer, so he duped it. He just went ahead and created it poorly, recreated it poorly.
We'll make our own Clubhouse with blackjack, and never mind.
With blackjack and foam Play-Doh. All right, Karen. So you were saying you were
oh
telling
yeah,
us a
so
bit more about
so
average creatures.
I basically learned everything, well, not everything, but a good chunk about the space, from those 3 months, the golden years of Clubhouse. And you know, that's when that's when I started like learning about like PFP projects and all that. And I remember seeing them, and I didn't at first I didn't quite understand like what was going on. I was like, I don't get this. Like, I'm sure a lot of us at first were like, I don't really get this. But then, I started kind of
No, I got it immediately, but I mean, it's fine. No, I'm just kidding.
not me. I'm kind of slow on the uptake sometimes, but yeah,
No, I'm kidding. I still haven't gotten it, to be honest.
but like,
Yeah, no.
but yeah, I started like kind of, so I was like just like minting like my photography for months, and then it was around like probably like August 2020, so much later on that year, and by then I'd already grasped the mechanics and everything of how a lot of people how a lot of artists were doing their PFP projects. And a dev team had approached me, and they were like, "Hey, have you ever considered, doing a generative project?" And I was like, "Yeah, like I thought about it." And I was like, "That's kind of cool. I wonder if I'll be able to ever execute that." And I think they more wanted to do, or in their minds, they wanted to do something with the astronaut. But I was like, I don't know. There's something that irks me about like, and that's so hard because it's like I can go if I go to one place and take photos at a location, the lighting on the person, like the actual astronaut, isn't going to match up. Like, I instantly thought about that, and I knew that would bother me. So I was like, give me a few days. I was like, let me like mull this over and all. So I took like probably like 2 to 3 days like thinking about it, and I kept going back to the fact that like, I was sculpting stuff. And when I was younger, like in junior high, my friend had kind of I'd say borrow, but more stole. I don't think his stepfather knew he had it. It was one of those huge like VHS camcorders that weighs like 80 pounds that you can barely carry. And we would do stop animation with it. And I love doing that. We did that for a couple years, and then, we went to high school and got into other things and kind of stopped. But um I just love like, like growing up, like the Muppets and like Pee Wee's Playhouse and like just all that kind of weird stuff that, I consumed as a kid. So I was like, I think I can make like full characters, but at the time, 2021, I'm already now I can like sculpt bodies and stuff because I've been like really working at it. But I was like, I can easily do the heads, but I don't know what to do about the bodies. And then I was thinking of all the wardrobe I have in my studio. So I actually recently posted on my Twitter, it's somewhere, I think I posted it yesterday. I did like a kind of like a concept sketch, and my idea was that I'm going to sculpt these heads. So all the heads of average creatures are like pretty much like fist or softball size. And then the backgrounds are like 12 by 12 inch, like just backgrounds that I made with all different kinds of stuff. And but the bodies are mannequin bodies. Here we go with the mannequins again. Everyone's gonna be like, that girl is sick. What is her sick obsession with mannequins?
No, it's nice. I think it's cool that like you were like, what do I do without people? Mannequins.
I'll make my own
Exactly. People factory.
Like it's dystopian, but so is the 2 years or 3 years that we were dealing with everything relating to COVID. So like it makes sense.
Yeah, I adapted, and mannequins were my safe space or safe place.
It's actually the sequel. It's actually the sequel to the astronaut collection. Karen was the astronaut, and then after she got over the fact that all the people had left, she found herself some mannequins.
Set up mannequins.
Like,
somebody walks into a room just filled with mannequins, and you're like, welcome to the party. As you can see, it's very crowded.
Oh man. Yeah, that's me saying I hate people and don't want to be around.
What do you mean I've been alone too long? Twitch.
I sit with my mannequins. I'm like, I'm so sorry. I said I didn't like people.
There's a tea party involved.
I'm
not sure why, but there's always a tea party with all the dolls around the table. So you have to include that somehow.
Yeah.
Maybe I can do a self-portrait of that. But yeah, so that was my whole idea, is that okay, this is going to be, and at the time it was I think it was one of the first generative projects that, I mean, I know there weren't many at that time that was actually photographs, and it wasn't drawn, on an iPad or whatever. But yeah, so what I did is I made all these heads, and they kind of look like lollipops because in order to photograph them I had to kind of like put them on like skewers. So I put them on skewers, and then yeah, and then like put them in there's like these foam blocks that you put like flowers in. It's just like styrofoam. So I would like put them on a skewer, put the skewer in the styrofoam so it like stood up straight, and I just photographed, like, I think I made like around 120 different character heads. And then the bodies were just like, I kept like dressing a mannequin torso, photographing it, taking going through like, like another 100 outfits, and then there's around like 120 backgrounds, and they all have one of my friends in the space, Jeff Jag. I got the idea from him because I remember he was talking. He used to work for a Boy Scout patch making company, or it was a company that made patches, but it was mostly for like Boy Scouts. And I was like, oh man, like Boy Scout patches look really cool. So all the creatures have patches that signify like what their hobbies are. And we kind of got like, comical with it. Like they all have jobs. They all have like patches.
Funny enough, those patches kind of look like Nouns accessories, because Nouns have like something on their shirt, all of them. So it's kind of interesting how that sort of parallel that I noticed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I did that too because we didn't come up with the name to Average Creatures until we did the first like test run. Because I remember I wrote something down about monsters, or I had trouble thinking of a name. And when we first like did the first like generation, like the test generation, there was something about like the human-esque bodies with the creature heads that just looked so funny to me. Like the bodies made them look like kind of just like everyday people, but they had like these weird heads. I don't know. So I was like, they kind of look like just, yeah, I think that's how it came. I was like, they look like everyday people that would just like go to a job that they hate or something every day. So it's kind of how we came up with the Average Creatures name. So yeah,
It's
I
a great
mean,
name.
y-
By the way, I'm picturing like one of your friends coming over to your studio one day, and it's just a bunch of headless bodies, and they're like, "Okay, Karen," and then like a few days later they come back, and it's just a bunch of heads on sticks, and they're like, "Oh God, Karen's really gone nuts this time."
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, if you saw my studio, you would probably instantly already. I think I'm past that, to be honest.
That's great.
Hey, I told you,
This is great.
Already switched out of my dead fellas that I picked up overnight for my food masku, and we're going to call it Taco Thursday. And so if you click through my profile, you can see what I believe to be the only creature that is a human being, the head. Do you want to speak to how that came about, Ken?
Oh yeah. Very nice.
Yeah,
Yes,
we collaborated with a couple projects. So Food Masku was one of them because he had I think Food Masku was the first person to have dropped, I think, the first photography project, if I'm not mistaken. But and I had I had known them from like Clubhouse and everything, so I was like, oh, I think it would be cool if we like did a collaboration with them, you know, because we're both photographers that kind of did a generative project. And then another project that I loved was Toy Boogers. So Doug, who does Toy Boogers, he's the artist for them. He was amazing enough to like just send over assets that we could use. So I actually sculpted Doug's creations, which wasn't the easiest because like I had to like I didn't go to school for like painting or sculpting or anything, and I had to like I was like, oh shit, I realized that I had to like paint match, like mix paint to actually like get the same colors as his characters, which actually wasn't that hard, thank God. But yeah, so that we also did a skull with that was in collaboration with Not Fungible Bones. He does a lot of like kind of like GIF images and stuff. I love his work, but yeah, the food mask, it was funny because he was like, what food, like what's one of your favorite foods? And like a child, I was like, oh, I don't know, a taco. So he
Oh, I thought you said a child at first. I'm like, that's a little dark.
that would have made
Of
that would have
Toshi?
been amazing because he would have had to
Is
put
that you?
like yeah.
Oh no.
Um but yeah, I don't know. I like tacos a lot, I guess. So I said tacos, and quickly they produced that taco asset, and I was like, this is amazing. Their head looks hilarious on some of the bodies, because the bodies like are all different. I got a few like I oh toward the end of the project when I was shooting it, I actually started using real people's bodies too. So there's actually a mix of like actual human people in that.
Oh, that's so cool. By the way, now that I'm seeing all of these the average people and like how you sculpted them, and I tabbed back to looking at some of the photography. Now I see what you mean with the 80s influence. I'm starting to expect to see like a Skeksis hiding in the background somewhere
I
on some of these
wish. I was
pictures.
so psyched.
Just like,
Exactly. I was so psyched when they brought that back on Netflix, and then like for some reason no one liked it, so it got canceled, and I was so bummed.
Everyone liked it. That's why Netflix canceled it, because it's better for them to. I hate the way it works. Anyway.
Yeah, they claimed no one watched it, but I was like, no, I doubt that's true.
Which show is this?
Dark Crystal.
No, I didn't
But
watch
Karen,
it.
I'm sorry to
Might be my
interject
fault.
here. I wanted to do the joke of the day today. Tony, are you
Oh, no.
interested in the joke
Oh,
of the day?
Stand by
Why?
first, Karen.
The people,
No,
the
I'm
people
telling
in
you.
your
But I have a
DMs, they
question.
don't
I have
have
a
good
question for
jokes.
Karen. I have a question for Karen after I do the joke of the day. Karen, I want to talk about photography, printing, because I see this is, I mean, when you talk about NFTs, photography, and like the print of the photography, can you talk about like, photography, print culture and that kind of thing? Because I see you do print some of your photos, and I think that's a beautiful collectible. I'd like to get me some hanged up.
Wait, are we getting a joke of the day, or was that just a joke about the joke of the day?
That was it.
Hopefully
Is
that
a
was
good
it.
one?
It was better than the one
I
yesterday as well. So
It was better.
I
It was
mean-
an improvement.
I mean,
I shudder.
okay, let me give the joke of the
Was
day. Let me give the
it?
joke of the day, and then we can get this going.
It
And
was,
today,
it's relief humor. The relief of not having to hear one made
All right,
everyone laugh.
Let's
I'm
hear
gonna
it.
be
Let's hear it, Devin.
shooting
It was
anyone who. Okay, the joke of the day.
we're waiting.
Why did the rectangle go to the bench? Why did the rectangle go to the bench?
don't know.
I don't know, Devin. Why?
It wanted to be the Noun Square.
Yeah.
Do it live!
All right. Well, thanks, Devin. We'll
Maybe we need a test net for Davin's jokes, like some kind of test net version.
But let me just put this out there: no speculating on the Davin test net. The Davin test net is only for testing Davin's jokes. All right. We'll we'll talk about this offline, Davin. What was your question for Karen?
Photography, printing, and NFTs.
Oh yeah, so that's a good question, and it's weird. I've heard a lot of people talking about it, like, like over a year ago. Now I don't really hear anyone touch on it anymore. But for a while, if I did a one of one, or if I did, maybe like a smaller, like a 10 piece drop or something, I would put, that the collectors can get a physical print sent to them, but I would price it accordingly. Like I did one mint where it was only like 5 in the edition, and it came with an acrylic print. So acrylic prints are kind of expensive to have made. But then the feedback I got, which is true, is that, a lot of people in the space, like, they're anonymous, or they certainly don't want to have to give their address out to anyone. So, I kind of stopped that, and I kind of put out there, like, hey, if you're a collector and you want me to send you a print of what you have, just contact me. So, I kind of price my stuff assuming that I'm not doing the prints anymore, just because I have no clue, like, who wants to be anonymous, who actually wants physical stuff. So yeah, I usually just say, hey, if you hold one of my pieces, just contact me and I can get you a print. I've done that with a few people already.
If you want to hook Toady, who's under the main account clock, just add a pound of coffee to the offering, and you can get his address.
That's right. Yeah,
So,
I only dox for coffee. It's a well-known fact.
Or just send it to Nouns Coffee and they will forward it.
That's right. Care of. It's like those shows from the 90s where everything was like care of some random studio. Anyone? No. They're like, please send us a letter.
I was
at
5.
Blah, 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 blah. P.O. Box 567, Paris, Ontario. Care of Nouns Coffee.
I was born halfway through that, so I don't know what you're talking about, but okay.
That sucks. Sucks to be you. You missed the best. Karen knows what I'm talking about. The 80s were the shit.
I do. And I never dared ask my parents to do any of that stuff, but I'd get, like, every time those commercials would come on, I'd be like, are there other children out there that are getting these things or sending these things off? Am I missing out? I felt like I was just missing out on so much.
Karen was lonely even as a child. She was thinking, are there other children out there? Yes, there
is. Somewhere out there.
There have to be. Otherwise it won't work.
Oh, yeah. You also used to be able to write into like the cereal companies to get toys. They really made us work for things.
You used to be able to write to serial killers. I was gonna be like, I think you still can if you want.
How did we get on this topic twice in 2 days? How did we get here?
You can, and for some reason people do. I'm not sure why.
It's the Hi Guys. I like that thing.
You don't get a prize though. If you, just to be clear, there's no prize if you write a letter to your local serial killer. So don't be expecting something.
If there is a prize, it might not be one you want.
It's not going to be a plastic toy. Okay, that's all I'm going to say. Hey, that would make a good photography series. Actually, Karen, would be like all those old crazy like plastic toys that they used to give in cereal boxes. If you could like find those and put them into scenes, that'd be pretty neat.
Oh hell yeah!
Oh yes, do you remember those like octopuses?
Give them Nouns glasses.
They were like, I think they were octopus shaped, and they were sticky, and you would like throw them to the wall, and they would just they would like just grossly like stick, but like go down the wall,
slurp downward. Yeah,
slurp downward.
Exactly.
Speaking of
went all the way down the wall.
That's pretty accurate.
You're welcome for that awful noise I just made.
Speaking of slurpy semi-solids, do you guys remember GAC? That came out.
Yes.
That was like early '90s.
And they like.
I wish I didn't.
People would always
GAC was
make
like
that gross sound with it. It's like, I don't know. I'm a kid, but I don't know if I like that sound. I feel like it's like I knew as an adult when I heard it, I would be disgusted.
Wasn't that like a Nickelodeon thing?
Yes, it was Nickelodeon. That's so random. Why was it Nickelodeon? I imagine
because they had the Nickelodeon slime, and they were like, "How can we give Nickelodeon slime to children in a way that won't get us in trouble?"
Well, we've had David Horvath on here many times before, and he's talked about how like the licensing game is like really difficult these days, except for kids. With kid stuff, it's still a moneymaker. So I guess it was still the case back in the Nickelodeon days. They're like, "How are we going to get more money out of these kids here?" That's how they talked in the '90s, and they were like, "Well,
we gotta pander to the children."
So
they won't buy our cigarettes anymore. We need something else.
Why are you doing the announcer voice from like the '70s or the earlier? That's the voice
like
that Quagmire from Family Guy is based on.
We're in the 20s, man.
Well, yeah, actually, yeah, it's the '40s because the microphones at that time were really sensitive to the mid-range. So that's why all of them had that like Autolite brand spark plugs, the only spark plugs for you. And that's why all of them had that vocal quality.
Yeah, but what you guys don't know is the ad men from the '40s were the CEOs of Nickelodeon in the '90s.
That actually makes so much sense.
You guys, I want to point out something. Do you guys realize that's what we do in Twitter Spaces every day nowadays? Damn. We're in the 20s, bro.
What, pander to the children? Except the children here, it's me and Toady for some reason.
I'm in this picture and I don't like it, Davin.
Yeah.
I'm going to guess that Karen's collection is going to be the first rendition with X-ray noggles and decoder rings. So I'm just going to throw that out there.
Oh my god!
It's interesting.
I'm not going to lie, I would buy it.
It's interesting you mentioned that because there's a group actually making a Nouns comic, Jaren. Sorry, I didn't mean to turn you into a 2000 era white boy, Karen. There's a team making a Nouns comic, and they're pretty cool. They have a DAO called Comics DAO, and they've basically written the thing, and it's just going out to distribution now. But in that comic, they're doing like those like 80s era like ads that used to be in comics, and one of them that they're going to be doing is for like X-ray goggles, because they used to have those X-ray vision goggles that you could order from the comics. They didn't work. I'm just kidding. I never ordered them. But anyhow, a bit of an aside there.
Yeah, I've actually been looking at the Symbiotech sent it to me multiple times, that link, because I kept losing it. But yeah, the like asset. I basically want to sculpt from those available assets on. I can't remember the site they're on again.
Nouns.center.
Probably nouns.center/assets.
Yeah, I think that was it. But yeah, I've been like checking that out. I'll definitely let everyone know when I'm done. I've been kind of like working on it, but getting busy in between.
Ooh, that would be really cool.
Wait, hang on. I've almost got. There it is.
Right?
I was like, waiting. There should be a sound effect.
Listen, the only one I could find at short notice was, which, while the chord is fitting, the word isn't.
Yeah, that's just rude at that point.
Yeah.
What did we say about using rude sound effects for our guests, Robot Fish Grill? I can't. All right. Anyone else who's on stage have any questions for our wonderful guest, Jaren? This is going to stick now forever.
I'm going to start wearing...
Karen is not Jaren. Tortita is not tortilla.
I'm gonna start
How many times?
Jorts. Remember jorts?
Shorts. There was no need for that. Like, we already had the word jean shorts, and no one was having problems with it. Why did it have to become?
Listen. I can't roast jorts because like a third of my wardrobe is jeggings.
Okay, I was just gonna say jeggings.
Still,
is even worse. Yeah, jeggings.
It is. Objectively.
I only wear hybrid clothes. It has to be a hybrid of other types of clothes.
Weird religion, but no weirder than any other. So that's fine. Only
when denim clothes. Leg warmers.
All right, Davin has either a question or a joke of the day. Hopefully, a question.
No.
I hope it's a question.
I know we're about to get into our daily. I don't know if we should get into the daily gifts. Then I can thank Karen for coming on the show to deal with our craziness here and there on the Noun Square. But I really feel right now I'm feeling like I should play the Nari trivia with you, because I feel like you know much about extreme sports and NounsDAO more than anyone on this space. But maybe that will be for the daily drop. But I don't know. Tony, you want to get into the prizes? Then I would like Karen on the way out.
Wait, you're gonna ask Karen a NARS trivia question? Is that what you're gonna do?
Me? Yeah. We now have a new format of the game. We have a new format of the game. I announced it today, and that's what happens on a daily show. You come up and you just do it. It's one question. If you pass the question, you win $2, right? But if you pass the question, we tell you, okay, cool. Do you want to double it and try again the next question? You can just walk away with $2, or you can try to get $4 until we reach $10. It's just $10 a day. A little prize we have on the daily drop there on the Noun Square with that Snarly, and it's just a prize.
That's at 9:30 p.m. 9:30 p.m. So you've got like 12 hours to prepare for trivia if you want to.
Read about NounsDAO, extreme sports, Nounish turf. I tell you, it's getting crazy. So either walk away with $2, or you want to double it. You want to double it until you can get the $1 million $10 prize.
All right. So tune in at 9:30 p.m. EST tonight if you want to hear
Davin is the Ugandan Monty Hall. Let's make a deal, Davin. Before he thanks Karen, I'll apologize for derailing the fine art and photography conversation for average creatures and 80s recollections, and thank her.
Oh,
thank you so much.
That's totally
Karen.
cool.
It's been really fun.
Yeah, thank you for having me, and Symbiotech, obviously. Like, thank you for bringing that up, because for some reason I forget, like, oh yeah, I have this whole project that I never talk about sometimes. So I appreciate it.
I can't stop looking at the doily on this one that I've put up here. Just the thought of like a doily being a generative trait in an NFT collection is amazing.
Yeah, there's
It
a lot of
reminds me of
grandmother items in it.
that is such a grandmother item, right? But what is it? A doily was supposed to go under your plate, right? At your grandmother's, I think.
I
I don't
think,
know.
or like maybe under, I think doilies go under like a decorative like vase or something.
It's like a paper ornamental mat.
Yeah. Back then they were like, how can we use more paper for things that don't even need to exist? It was a different time.
Well, I mean, it's food service presentation, so they come in varying sizes. So they can either be the tiny ones that you're used to, where they go under like a tea service, or they can go on a table. Sorry,
I'm having major flashbacks to when I was a server in a restaurant in like 1989, and we used to put doilies underneath like the coffee pots and the coffee cups, and
that is to protect the
tear
table.
them apart. Oh, it was so bad.
This has been the Daily Doily with Prof and Robot. Tune in every day at 9 a.m.
This is one of those.
Need to exist.
This is one of those topics where I also asked this question, but because I'm me, I went down a 4-hour Wikipedia rabbit hole on it.
I will say that
like 2 years ago.
Doily is a word that is very quick to produce. I think it's called semantic satiation, when you say a word too many times and it sounds like it's not a word.
Doily.
Doily, that happens after like three. That happens like 3 times. Yeah, that's the word for it, semantic satiation, when you say the word.
I didn't even know that was an actual thing. I thought it was just like, something I experienced all on my own.
Everything you experience has a name. Nothing in your human experience is unique, and everything has been termed by psychologists, unfortunately. But yeah, doily, it happens with like three repetitions of the word doily, and you're like, what the fuck is a doily? Anyway, this has been a really great chat. Karen, you've been a commensurate guest. It's been really fun to go down the rabbit hole of what you do, and the 80s and the 90s and all the nostalgia that comes through in your work. If you could shout out one thing to anyone who's listening and sort of how they can connect with you as an artist, what would that be?
Yeah, I'm always up for collaborating. If anyone wants to work on something together or just talk or ask me questions, my DMs are always open. And yeah, this has been great. This has been probably the funnest space I've ever done. So thank you all for this.
Aww.
Thanks for the laughs and the memories. And I'm glad I could share my weird mannequin, deep-rooted issues with you all, and thank you.
Welcome to Nouns Therapy in the morning.
Yes, comedy,
which we realized started as a child, when your parents told you there weren't other children out there.
Exactly. I couldn't mail my stuff out to a PO box and thought I was all alone. And yeah,
there weren't other children, and then COVID hit, and you went, "Oh God, they were right."
Times Square is empty. My parents were right. Okay, well, we've got a few housekeeping items to take care of here at the close of the show. Robot Fish Girl is going to give a free NFT to everybody just for having been here. It's called a POAP. Take it away, RFG.
So, POAP stands for Proof of Attendance Protocol. We've got a couple new faces in the crowd, so if you haven't gotten it yet, just go to poap.xyz, poap.xyz to download the mobile app. Once you have the application open, you're going to tap the Mint button in the bottom right-hand corner, and then you are going to tap Secret Word, and today's secret word is Lonely Spaceman 80. Lonely Spaceman 80. That is LonelySpaceman 80. Lonely Spaceman 80.
Awesome. And now if you're in the POAP app, you have to do a wonderful game to prove that you are human. So you can do that while you listen into the schedule for today. How's that?
Sounds like a plan to me.
Schedule for today. It is Thursday, the 2nd of March. We're already into March, partially blaming that on February being so damn short. March 2nd. We had 9 o'clock live, of course, this morning. After that, we actually don't have anything. You can take the morning off.
Oh,
we have nothing.
Real quick. If the POAP didn't work for you, try it again. It didn't load for a second.
Oh, okay. All right. So I lied. Actually, you can't take the morning off. So I'm glad you said that.
Skip that DM, Robot Fish Girl. Never mind. Now I got it.
Now you got it. Yeah, right. It was a minute late. It took a minute to propagate.
What's the POAP what again?
Lonely Spaceman 80.
You done a better job of reading out than I did anyway.
Right? I was like, am I spelling it right? Is there no E in it? Is it
No, it's like, LONELY SPACEMAN 80. Lonely Spaceman 80. Sorry, Teddy, keep going. That was my bad.
No, I was like, usually when the POAP doesn't work, it's because Cardno was the one reading it and no one could understand.
I was going to say, when I was covering you the other day, RFG, I read the POAP out 3 times differently.
Well, that's because the problem there is that you can't have the POAP where it'd be like 9 miles long and in Welsh.
Yeah,
so
double D's and L's.
We should. We should be able to talk to POAP, and whatever Cardno's giving the word, there shouldn't have to be an extra step to prove you're human, because if you can make out Cardno's,
I know I've done that bit before, but I love the mental image of Cardno just going like, and today's secret word is okay, you got it?
Very well done.
I know what that means. That's coal mine, right? In Welsh?
Pretty much.
Yeah, somehow. We'll go with that.
All right, stop picking on Cardno, everybody. It's not nice. All right, coming up this morning at 11:30, we are hosting a pop-up soapbox for the Explorer Grants program. Really cool program run by Martin and who else runs that with Jihad. Martin and Jihad. And so they basically have done this Explorer Grants program where they chose people to come basically for Nouns fellowships to work on nouns for a set month, a 3-month period. And they've been doing a weekly community call. They're going to start doing them on TNS. So they're going to come on here with their explorers, chat a little bit about what they've been working on. And they've also asked to interview me for a fireside chat. So I'm actually a little bit nervous, to be honest. I'm not usually on the other side of the microphone, and it's always a bit weird because I have to answer the question.
The interviewer becomes the interviewee.
Yeah,
oh, how the turntables.
Who watches the Watchmen, right? So that's coming up at 11.
Custodies.
That's right. That is at 11:30 a.m. EST. So that's in like 2.5 hours. Also, by the way, if you are on Nounsel or you're interested in what Nounsel's doing, they have their meeting this week, as every week, at 10 a.m. So I don't know why I told you could take the morning off. There's actually lots of stuff in the morning schedule. It just wasn't on the NounsSquare.info. I had to use my brain, and that's always difficult. So 10 a.m. EST. If you want to join in the Discord, the Nounsel Discord, you can listen in. If you're a Nounseler, you can participate. And that's at 10 a.m., then 11:30 a.m. for the Explorer call. After that, we've got Little Prop House, a space where they talk about everything to do with the Little Nouns Prop House rounds. That's at 2 p.m. EST. And then skip all the way till 9 p.m. tonight. We've got the NARS Jam session, which Davin was giving you a chance to prepare for his trivia 12 hours in advance. So you can do that by joining them tonight for the NARS Jam session and the Daily Drop. And then, of course, we're back here tomorrow morning for 9 o'clock live. Should be around 7:45 again. And looking forward to that. That is everything that's coming up in the next 24 hours.
We also might have Brand Buzz with Nikki at 5:30 p.m. I think that's still on.
Oh, yeah. Why are none of these things in the schedule? Well, Zargs has been sick. So.
They are in the schedule. They're just not on 9o'clock.app or .info.
We wish you, Mama Zargs. We wish you quick recovery.
Yeah, she was having some troubles, and she's doing better now. So, you're right. Let me look up the schedule in the Discord now that I've just given everyone the wrong schedule.
No,
You are
that
right.
was
At
right. You're just missing
5:30
one thing. 5:30 p.m.
Yeah, 5:30 p.m. Brand new soapbox actually with Nikki. You may know her from our TikTok, and one of her colleagues, Justin, are starting a new soapbox called Brand Buzz, where they talk all things Web3 branding, NFTs, and should be an interesting chat. That's coming up at 5:30 p.m. EST. So join us for that as well. Be there or be square. I think that's everything that we've got. The last thing to do before we close here, of course, is to give away 0.069 ETH to one person who helped us get the word out about today's show by retweeting the room. Let's plug this into our magic retweet picker.
Well, sound is filled via the soundboard. Thank you, Super Tight Woody, for curating, and Davin for pressing buttons.
Oh my! You just exposed me.
That's like, it reminds me of when I used to do a lot of choir stuff when I was in school, and we used to bill our conductor by just like, and thank you to conductor's name for standing in the front and swatting flies. Not sure what she's doing there, but
this has been very niche orchestral humor with Robot Fish Girl. All right, I have a winner. RFG, can I get a drum roll from your orchestra?
You can.
Winner is Leo Bunster at Leo Bunster. He's got a humankind. He's got a humankind with noggles. Love to see it. Also, Leo is behind, if you didn't know, the TNS in Espanol TikToks, which if you haven't been watching, they've been creating lots of awesome TikToks from Mexico City with noggles galore. And that is not associated with the Noun Square. That is one of the beauties of CC0 is that we've created this little project to celebrate nouns once a day, every day. And of course, it's open source. So anyone can copy us, can collaborate with us, can participate along as much as they'd like. So Leo Bunster put a prop house round in for NounsDAO Amigos and won that round and started making TikToks on the Noun Square in Espanol. So love that.
And none of us knew until it was already launched, and we were just like, wait, this is really cool. Where did this come from?
Yeah, this has happened multiple times. It's one of the beautiful things about building a brand in a CC0 environment is that people just come and help you, and you don't even have to ask. So that's great. Keep it up, Leo, and congratulations. You won 0.069 ETH just for helping out by retweeting the room. Last thing that we need to do here is do our lucky Nomo draw. I forgot to do it earlier during the Nomo segment, so we don't want to leave you hanging. We've got a previous minter of a Nomo who is going to win an edition from our Nomo vault right now, live on the air. Can I get another drum roll, please? The winner is We Make Noise, Not Clothes.eth. Very specific. Very specific, Ian. God, I really hate the new OpenSea like table list or whatever. I saw a tweet yesterday that was like the funniest thing about the Blur saga is that they tricked OpenSea into making the pictures small, and I think that's like the most on point thing that I've seen, because if you haven't been on OpenSea recently, they changed it so that the view of your collected is all like tiny little pictures.
Wait, for real?
Hang
on, let me see this.
Back to the other one. You can switch it back
Symbio.
to the other one, which I did immediately because that's the only reason I was using OpenSea over Blur in the first place. Like,
but how do you change it back?
Blur's UX.
Oh my!
How do you change it back?
Symbio, do you think?
There's a
Symbio,
setting
do you think,
on the right-hand side, and you can switch it so that it's different views. Yeah, so you can go back to the regular.
I see it. All right. Sorry, someone had a question?
I want to ask Symbiotech that. Do you think Blur did a successful viral, what do you call it, vampire attack on OpenSea? Is it successful today with everything that they're doing now?
I think both platforms are going to lose in the end.
I don't think it was. I personally don't
Bullish.
think it was.
Love to hear it.
NFTs are all going to zero. You heard it here first. I don't personally think it was a vampire attack. So for those who don't know what a vampire attack is, it's basically when a company loses money in order to drive another company into the ground and then recovers. Well, usually vampire attacks are done by companies with really deep pockets, which I guess Blur does have if you count all the VC funding. But I think they're just going about it a different way and going after a different demographic. I don't think they're necessarily trying to put them out of business by lowering fees and stuff like that. I don't know. It's just competition. That's what naturally happens. That's my 2 cents on that.
Well, maybe I'll reframe and say that I believe in artists' sovereignty, so I hope that artists prevail and that maybe these platforms become some kind of enterprise solution for the Starbucks of this world.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Sure. Karen, what do you think, actually? It's always interesting to hear from artists about things that are happening in the space and how things are changing.
Wait, what was the specific question again? I heard
just
Starbucks
sort of talking about. That's okay. Just talking about Blur and like all the effects of Blur on the NFT world, I guess, over the past 5 months.
Yeah. I mean, I could go on and on about this, but I mean, I'm pretty sure the problem that most artists have are, and I'm gonna kind of play devil's advocate, but the obviously like the royalty fees. I mean, for me, I the NFT space is leaps and bounds different from what things were like before for me as an artist. Like, I feel like my work is actually respected and it's not. I Before Web3 there was a lot of asking me and expecting me to do things for free, and thinking that I'm just pushing a button on my camera and that there's nothing else involved. So for me, I mean, I'm not too, I mean, I get for projects that, yes, that the royalty fee, because projects are expected to get out there and do like in real life events, or just a whole bunch of different things, where I think like as if you're a one of one artist, I don't know, it goes both ways for me. I'm just happy to be in this space and to be finally selling my work at what I feel my work is worth. um Anything beyond that for me is a bonus, but I get how that greatly can damage and sink most projects, I guess. So I guess I'm kind of like,
Well, it's interesting that you put it that way, because that's something that I've heard a lot, which is that in the absence of being able to enforce royalties, which is unfortunately the case with anything that's on a blockchain, that artists charging more for their work is sort of the natural progression of that, to make sure that you're properly compensated for your work and your artistry. But yeah, it's interesting that that's kind of your feeling out of the gate, is that you need to charge what you're worth, essentially. Mind you, the flip side of that is people need to be willing to pay it as well, right?
right, yeah, exactly. But yeah, I think just that the royalty subject with that is, I feel like that's not a good thing for projects. So that does worry me. Yeah, I think for projects that's pretty damaging. I could be wrong. There's probably people out there that have run the numbers and they're like, no, it's fine. But yeah, I think it's kind of damaging for projects.
Yeah, it definitely is going to force people to think of new ways of formulating them, that for sure, because you can't just make a 10K PFP project and then fund your development based on ongoing royalties necessarily. So it's going to be difficult for sure. But that already kind of was the case with 10K PFPs, is that in order to really continue on and keep building, they had to continually mint new things, right? Royalties were never really sustaining the full development of an entire team for something like CloneX or any of these big collections. So anyway, I didn't mean to open a can of worms literally at the end of the show. I was just curious to hear your thoughts on that. Awesome. Well, I want to thank Karen, again, for joining us. It was an awesome chat. Thank you, everybody else who joined us as well. What was our noun of the day today? What did we get stuck with? We got stuck with a chef hat. What's a good song to play us out?
With a Doom Chef? I mean, I would just play Kitchen Ace. So I can do that.
What's
Kitchen Ace and Taking Names? It's from Doom.
All right.
It fits!
Well, it definitely fits the nostalgic theme of the day as well. So.
Technically, this is from the soundtrack Rebuild, so it's not really the old version, the chip cartoon version, but still good. This is what I listen to when I'm getting work done, by the way.
I just want to shout out the dailies. There's actually MannyLinks.if who has a Doom mask on his PFP. I mean, Jester is here. I think everyone is always here every day, man. Love you guys, you know. Thanks for being on.
Sorry, I had to hit the air horn, Quarta.
What's the Goldie?
Do it live!
New video, Nounish. Check it out. Just pin it up there.
Yeah. Great video.
All right. Cody, you ready to rug?
Ready to rug. Thanks, Karen. Thanks again, everybody. Have a great day.